You probably picture a huge island of ice, and you're not wrong. It's home to just 57,000 people, but it's also sitting on an estimated $1.5 trillion worth of critical minerals, the exact same minerals China just cut the United States off from. So yeah, the race for the Arctic is heating up, and fast. Let's get into it.
I mean, really think about that for a second. What happens when a single rival nation can just flip a switch and turn off the supply chain for literally everything? We're talking about your phone, your car, and even your country's most advanced fighter jets.
Well, that's exactly what happened. This isn't some far-off problem or a military war game scenario anymore. It is a very real, very active supply chain crisis, and it has kicked off a global scramble to find a new source for these materials.
So, the catalyst for all of this was China's decision to cut off the United States from a very, very special group of materials. This was the moment the whole game changed. So what did we actually lose access to?
We're talking about rare earth elements. And look, this isn't some abstract thing for scientists. We're talking about the high-performance magnets that make your iPhone vibrate, the incredibly powerful electric motors inside a Tesla, and the super sophisticated guidance systems in an F-35 fighter jet. If you lose access to these, you lose the absolute cornerstones of modern technology and national defense. Okay, so if your main supplier suddenly goes offline, where in the world do you turn? Right now, all eyes are shifting to the Arctic, and specifically to Greenland, because it is sitting on what you can only describe as a geopolitical treasure chest.
Let that number sink in. $1.5 trillion. That's the estimated value of the minerals buried under Greenland's ice, according to the US Geological Survey. It's just a staggering figure that could represent a complete and total realignment of the entire global supply chain for critical minerals.
And just to understand the sheer scale we're talking about, take a look at this, the Kvanefjeld deposit in southern Greenland. It alone holds an estimated 11 million metric tons of rare earth oxides. Now compare that to Mountain Pass in California. That's America's only significant rare earth mine, which has less than 2 million. I mean, this isn't just another discovery, it is a world changer.
But it gets even better. See, it's not just about quantity, it's about the quality. Greenland's deposits are incredibly rich in what are called heavy rare earths, things like dysprosium and terbium. These are the most valuable, the most critical for high-performance technology, and they're the ones that China has an almost complete monopoly on, producing 95% of the world's supply. Of course, the United States isn't the only country that knows what's buried under Greenland's ice. What we're seeing unfold is a really high-stakes geopolitical chess match, and it's all being played out in the high north.
So, you might be asking, why is all of this happening right now? Well, it's kind of like a perfect storm of three different things. First, like we've been talking about, China's export ban created an urgent, desperate need. Second, climate change is literally melting the ice sheet, making these resources more accessible than they have ever been. And third, all of this is happening against the backdrop of a return to great power competition, where everyone is scrambling for a strategic edge. And every player has a totally different playbook. For the US, it's mainly about securing mineral access for its industries and maintaining its long-standing military presence there. But then you have China and Russia, who have much broader ambitions. Yes, they want the resources, but they also want to dominate new Arctic shipping routes and expand their military footprint in this strategically vital part of the world.
And look, to operate in the Arctic, you need one crucial piece of hardware: icebreakers. Now just look at these numbers. Russia has around 40. China, which calls itself a near-Arctic state, is building its fleet like crazy. And the United States? We have 2. That's it. That one data point tells you just how far behind America really is in this rate. So, facing this huge deficit and this urgent supply crisis, the United States has been forced to act, and act fast. A massive, comprehensive, high-stakes plan is now being rolled out to try and catch up and secure American interests in Greenland. And the crucial thing to understand here is that this isn't just about the military. Yeah, there's a $4 billion investment to upgrade Thule Air Base, but it's also a full-court press on every other front. Economic aid through a new USAID office in Greenland's capital, a huge diplomatic push from the State Department, and, critically, industrial funding to build the processing plants back home in the US, so we're not just swapping one dependency for another.
But let's be clear, this is not an overnight fix, not even close. The path from finding these minerals to actually getting them into a supply chain is a long one. You're looking at 2 to 3 years just for environmental assessments, then another 3 to 5 for mine construction, with the goal of maybe reaching full production sometime between 2030 and 2032. This is a very long-term strategic play. But now we get to the single biggest, most unpredictable factor in this entire equation. The final decision here. It doesn't rest in Washington or Moscow or Beijing. It rests with the 57,000 people of Greenland. They are the ultimate gatekeepers.
And that population is deeply, deeply divided. This quote frames the dilemma perfectly. For every single person who sees mining as the path to finally getting economic independence from Denmark, there's another person who fears the devastating environmental consequences for their pristine homeland.
And this really shows you that split. On one side, you have the promise of mining revenue that could finally allow Greenland to achieve full independence, a dream for many. But on the other side, there's this very real fear that large-scale mining could destroy the fishing industries and the natural environment that have sustained their culture for centuries.
And listen, this isn't just some hypothetical debate. In 2021, Greenland's parliament passed a ban on uranium mining. Now, because that huge Kvanefjeld rare earth deposit also contains uranium, that ban effectively killed the entire project overnight. It's this powerful reminder that local politics and environmental concerns can and absolutely will override global geopolitics. So what's the big takeaway from all this? The fight for Greenland's resources isn't going to be won by the country with the most icebreakers or the deepest pockets. It's going to be won by whichever power can successfully navigate Greenland's incredibly complex internal debate. And that leaves us with a final, critical question. In this new great game, what's going to matter more, raw power and ambition, or the kind of patient partnership it takes to win the trust of the very people who hold all the keys?